The moment I sat down in the KTV room and saw Brandon and Liam, my classmates from our school days, I knew I had been reborn. I remembered this day vividly. It was Brandon's birthday. We had argued earlier that morning, and in my previous life, he deliberately kissed someone else in front of me to provoke me. I stayed angry for a long time, but this time, things would not go the same way. Out of the corner of my eye, I glanced at Liam, who sat on my right with a blank expression. Alex," one of the guys whispered nervously. "Brandon was just joking around with you earlier. It was just a game. A game." "Yeah, don't take it seriously, Alex. Right, Brandon?" Everyone seemed terrified I would explode, awkwardly trying to smooth things over. Brandon simply sat there with his arms crossed, face cold, saying nothing. I chuckled. "I know, it's just a game. Come on, let's keep going." When the next round ended, I lost. Everyone's eyes darted between Brandon and me. Someone suggested, "How about this? Alex gets the same punishment Brandon got earlier. He has to kiss someone in the room for 10 seconds. They all assumed I would, of course, kiss Brandon. That way, the awkward tension from earlier would disappear, and they could all relax. I rolled my shoulders, loosened my neck, and smiled. Sure. Then, I grabbed Liam by the collar, pulled him toward me, and leaned up to kiss him. I stared into his ink-black eyes. Neither of us closed ours. When we separated, I lightly bit his lower lip. In my previous life, that was his favorite thing to do whenever we kissed. Silence fell, so thick it was suffocating. Only the KTV music kept playing obnoxiously, completely unaware of the atmosphere. Brandon stared at me, face dark as thunder. Someone tried to laugh it off. "It's just a game, just a game. We all know each other. Just a kiss." "Yeah, just a game." Under the table, I reached for Liam's hand, weaving my fingers through his, locking our hands together. I looked straight at Brandon and smiled. "Nope, you're playing a game. I'm playing for real." Liam's fingers curled slightly. I tightened my grip on his hand. Everyone around us froze for a moment before snapping back to their senses. "Oh, Alex is still jealous and mad," someone teased. "Brandon, hurry up and coax him." Brandon's expression softened just a little, but he turned his head away, refusing to look at me. Then, suddenly, Liam stood up, chair scraping loudly, and walked straight out of the room. I clicked my tongue lightly and got up as well. "You guys keep playing," I said casually. "I'm going to the restroom." But I didn't go in. I simply stood outside and watched Liam disappear inside. Leaning against the wall, I went through everything in my head. At this point in time, Brandon and I were still newly together. Earlier that morning, we argued because he stood me up. Back then, I swallowed my pride, apologized, comforted him, coaxed him, and we stayed together for 4 years. But when my family fell apart, when my parents' company collapsed, when they were framed and imprisoned, when debt collectors hunted me down and I had nowhere left to run, Brandon vanished from my life like smoke. It was Liam who found me. He protected me, paid off every debt for me, picked up my shattered pieces one by one, and cared for me like I was something precious for 6 whole years. Only later did I realize, somewhere along the way, Liam had fallen deeply in love with me. So now, did he still like me? He didn't push me away just now when I kissed him. I heard familiar footsteps approaching. I lifted my head and met Liam's eyes. Something in my chest itched. Lightly, softly, annoyingly. The taste of his lips was still vivid, lingering, making me crave more. I raised an eyebrow and smiled, grabbed his wrist and pulled him into the empty stairwell. Before he could react, I shoved him against the wall, stood on my toes, and kissed him hard. His muscles tensed instantly. God, kissing someone you like in a dark, empty corner like this was insanely thrilling. I pulled back just a fraction, panting slightly, and just like in my previous life, he bit my lower lip before letting go. My hand slid instinctively to the small of his back. My lips brushed his as I murmured, "Liam, I'm handing myself to you. Do you want me?" I paused, then added with a fake threatening tone, "If you dare say no, I'll just take you right here." Liam steadied his breathing, then suddenly pushed off with force. In one swift motion, our positions reversed. I found myself pinned against the corner instead. With a low voice laced with anger, he growled, "Alex, what game are you playing with me this time?" I blinked innocently. "None. I just want to date you." A moment later, he seemed deflated, leaning down to bury his face in my neck, panting, "Please, I'm begging you, if you don't like me, don't try to seduce me." Before I could answer, he turned and left. I touched my lips, finding it somewhat amusing. This guy, really. He kissed me first, and then told me not to seduce him. He clearly adored me. By the time I cooled down enough to return to the KTV room, Liam was already gone. The whole gathering instantly became pointless. I said a quick goodbye and headed out. I hadn't even reached the main exit when someone grabbed my wrist, hard. It was Brandon, who had chased after me. "Alex! How childish can you get? How long are you planning to keep this up?" I looked him over slowly, puzzled. How did I ever fall for him in the first place? He wasn't as handsome as Liam, not as tall as Liam, and definitely didn't have a body like Liam. Must have been blind. When I didn't respond, Brandon snapped again. "If you're going to keep acting like this, then let's break up." My eyes lit up. I yanked my hand back and even clapped twice. "Great. Let's break up. Goodbye, ex-boyfriend. Don't bother showing up again." Perfect. Saved me the trouble of saying it first. With Brandon standing there in shock, I happily got into my car and drove off. We were seniors now, close to graduation. I no longer lived in the dorms. I stayed in the small apartment I bought before. After showering, I lay on my soft bed and stared at the ceiling, confused. Since when did I ever mess around with Liam? He acted like he had some trauma because of me. But no matter how hard I tried to remember, I couldn't think of a single thing. I turned over and sighed. Forget it. I'll just ask him in person tomorrow. Graduation was approaching, and most students had already left campus. I couldn't remember whether Liam was still around or not. He wasn't answering my texts or calls, so the only option was to go to the school and hope for the best. Fortunately, luck was on my side. I found him before long, standing under a quiet sycamore tree. Unfortunately, someone else was standing in front of him. A girl, face bright red, fingers nervously gripping the hem of her shirt, mumbling something in a trembling voice. Well. I'd walked right into a confession scene. She finished speaking and looked up at Liam with hopeful eyes. And this solid wooden block stayed perfectly still. Didn't react at all. I couldn't help laughing. I walked right over, slipped an arm around his waist, and stood beside him. "Sorry, sweetheart. He's taken." The girl blinked in confusion. I raised my head and kissed Liam on the cheek, very pleased with myself. "You see that? He likes me." After the confusion settled, her face turned even redder. Could you kiss again? Huh? What kind of request was that? But I liked it. I hooked my fingers around Liam's neck to pull him down a bit and kissed him again. Except this time, it wasn't a kiss on the cheek. It was on the lips. The girl practically launched 3 feet into the air from excitement. She spun in place 3 full circles and squealed, holy crap, I ship this! You two are so real, I can't!" Then she suddenly stopped, stood up straight, and said seriously, "Senior brothers, I wish you a long and happy life together. I'll leave you alone so you can continue." And she bolted away like a rocket. Once she was completely out of sight, I shoved Liam against the tree and leaned in close. "You don't pick up calls and don't reply to messages, so you're just here accepting confessions from little girls instead?" I pecked him sharply in irritation. Liam stared at me with those deep eyes, then turned his head away. "Get off." "Oh, now he says get off. Why didn't he say that when I was kissing him earlier?" "Nope, not until you tell me how I played you." I grabbed his chin and forced him to look at me. "Come on, tell me. How did I play you?" Liam stayed silent for a long time. Then he gently pushed me away, stood up, and said with a blank voice, "You said dating me would be worse than jumping into a river." I froze. He glanced at me once more and walked away. Dear God, there was no way I said that. I totally said that. The memory hit me like a truck. That morning right before class, the girl next to me wouldn't stop whispering, "Liam is so handsome. He's exactly my type. I really want to date him." I rolled my eyes and scoffed. "Liam, have you ever seen him smile at anyone? Eternal iceberg face. Dating him would be worse than jumping into a river. Besides, he looks like he has zero idea how to date. You'd have a better chance dating our calculus professor." The moment I finished talking, Liam sat down behind me. Not my fault. Back then, he really had that cold keep-out sign written all over him. After a while, I slapped myself lightly. Serves me right for running my mouth. Then, I started laughing again. It's fine. Liam loves me down to his very bones. He's not going anywhere. I was just about to leave campus when I ran right into Brandon and a few of his friends. Brandon glanced at me with a cold expression, then immediately looked away. One of the guys awkwardly nudged him. "Bro, aren't you going to make up with Alex?" There's no need to stay mad this long. Couples never hold grudges overnight. Brandon let out a mocking laugh. "Comforting a man? Gross. Who acts that dramatic?" He cut a sideways look at me, raised his voice a little, clearly making sure I heard. He said he wanted to break up yesterday. We're adults. Nobody says that without thinking it over. If he said it, I'm not going to chase after him. What? Am I pathetic? Everyone around fell silent from the awkwardness. I didn't mind at all. I stuck my hands in my pockets, walked up casually, and slung an arm over the shoulder of the friend who spoke. If I remembered right, he was Liam's roommate. Hey bro, quick question. Does Liam still stay on campus at night? What time does he usually get back to the dorm? The guy froze, then glanced at Brandon. I snorted. What are you looking at him for? I asked you. If you're asking about Liam, won't Brandon get jealous? He scratched his head with an embarrassed smile. I looked at him like he was speaking another language. What's it got to do with him? You heard him. We already broke up. Come on, hurry. I need to know. Brandon shot me a glare filled with resentment. I ignored it completely. Liam hasn't been staying in the dorms for a long time. I don't know where he lives now. Are you trying to talk to him about something important? I nodded and patted his shoulder. Oh, that's all. Nothing big. I'm just chasing someone. Gotta track their whereabouts so I know when to strike. I said it casually, without caring how painfully awkward the atmosphere had become, and walked away in high spirits. But I'd barely taken a few steps when Brandon yanked me back. Alex, you need to stop already. I let it go before because I thought you were just throwing a tantrum, but if you keep this up, I'm really going to get angry. He was visibly upset, voice lowered with barely contained fury. I peeled his fingers off me one by one. Brandon, am I not speaking clearly, or are you just bad at listening? Breakup is a very simple word. Is it that hard to understand? I frowned. What, you need a reason to believe it's not just anger? Fine, I'll give you one right now. Listen carefully. I wiped the playful look off my face and spoke seriously, word for word. Brandon, I don't like you. I like Liam. The kind of liking where I can't look at anyone else. The kind of liking where I want to grow old with him. Is that reason enough? When I finished, Brandon's face was dark, lips pressed into a thin line as he stayed silent. Got it. Once you understand, stop bothering me. If Liam misunderstands, I'll have to coax him forever. I shrugged and turned away, unfazed by Brandon's furious glare. Behind me, he shouted through clenched teeth, Alex, don't you dare regret this. I waved dismissively without looking back. As if I ever would. The only thing I regret is not getting my hands on Liam sooner. Since Liam no longer stayed in the dorms at night, and I didn't know where he lived now, it was impossible to run into him by chance. So I had only one option left. Bait him out. At dusk, I posted a private WeChat moment visible only to him, tagged my location, and wrote just one simple line. Not in a good mood. Going out for a drink. Then I put on a silky low-cut shirt and headed to a bar, ready for my fish to take the bait. 3 drinks later, still no Liam. A sharply dressed man approached, smiling. Drinking alone? Let me buy you a drink, handsome. With hazy, drunken eyes, I lifted a finger and wagged it at him. Stay away from me. I'm fishing. If you're too close, the fish won't bite. The man sighed regretfully, gave an understanding nod, and walked off. The lights flashed and spun. Bodies swayed on the dance floor. The whole place was thick with flirtation and heat. 3 more people came over to hit on me. I chased every single one away. And still, no Liam. The longer I waited, the angrier I got. I downed my whiskey in one shot and dialed his number. It rang only once before connecting. Liam, you heartless bastard. Why aren't you here yet? You're really okay with me out drinking alone, huh? What if I get blackout drunk and someone takes advantage of me? Then what? Where will you cry afterward? You don't care about me. You don't love me at all. And to think My rant was abruptly cut off by a quiet voice. Turn around. It was strange. The music in the bar was deafening, yet his voice came through perfectly clear. I turned in confusion. And there he was, hidden in a dark corner, expression unreadable, the rotating lights occasionally catching the sharp lines of his jaw. A smile tugged at my lips. I staggered toward him and collapsed against him like boneless clay. Why did you take so long? I waited forever. Liam caught me by the waist with one arm, keeping me from sliding to the floor. His brows pinched tightly. Let's go home. I wrapped both arms around his neck and buried my face in his chest. Okay, take me home. Liam practically half-carried, half-held me all the way home. By the time we arrived, my legs were so weak I could barely stand. He slipped an arm under my knees and lifted me effortlessly, placing me gently on the bed. He made me a cup of honey tea first, holding it for me while I drank. Then he fetched a basin of warm water and carefully wiped my face, my neck, and my hands, slow, attentive, and tender. Which one is your sleepwear? he asked. I lazily squinted up at him. I sleep in t-shirts. Just grab the biggest one. He pulled a big white tee from the closet and handed it to me. I accepted it and immediately started taking off my shirt and pants. His pupils tightened and he instantly turned around, ears flushing red. I almost burst out laughing. It's just changing clothes. Not like he hasn't seen my body before. When I finished, the oversized shirt hung low enough to cover my thighs. Barefoot, I sat at the edge of the bed and sing-songed, "I'm done." Liam turned around. His eyes darkened for a split second, and I simply grinned stupidly back at him. After a brief pause, he said quietly, "You should rest. I'm going now." "Huh? No way. Leaving? Just like that?" I jumped up and hugged him from behind. "You're leaving? Haven't you heard about drunk people dying suddenly in their sleep? What if I throw up at night and choke to death?" He froze for a moment, then spoke in a low voice. "I'll ask Brandon to take care of you." "Excuse me? You're pushing me away?" I hugged him tighter. "No, I want you to stay." He inhaled sharply, fingers curling, veins standing out on the back of his hand. "I'm not anything to you," he said, voice strained. "I don't have the right to take care of you. Brandon is your boyfriend. He should be here." "Oh, right. I forgot to tell him." I quickly moved in front of him, hooked my arms around his neck, and said seriously, "Liam, Brandon and I broke up. I don't like him. I like you. I didn't say it to piss him off. I really like you. Just like you like me. Do you understand?" He froze, just for a second. I seized the moment, stood on tiptoe, and kissed him. "So," I whispered, "are you staying?" My hand instinctively slid under his shirt, ready to wander, but he caught my wrist instantly. Instead of giving in, he lifted me and placed me back onto the bed. Before I could hook my legs around him, he pulled the blanket up and wrapped me like a burrito. His expression didn't waver. "Sleep." "Excuse me? Since when were you such a gentleman?" I was so annoyed my teeth itched. Liam switched off the main lights, leaving only a small night lamp on. Then he sat down on the sofa. Judging from the look of it, he planned to sit there and stay awake the whole night. Stubborn to the bone. I rolled around on the bed on purpose, making as much noise as possible. Liam kept his eyes shut and didn't even sneak a glance in my direction. Fine. I threw the blanket aside, got out of bed, and walked to him barefoot. He still didn't open his eyes, pretending to be asleep. I straddled him, sitting directly on his lap, burying myself against his chest. Every muscle in his body went rigid. I wrapped my arms around him and reached under his shirt. But he grabbed my wrist with one hand and squeezed my waist with the other. "Alex, you're drunk. Go to sleep." His voice was low, hoarse, and strained with control. I lowered my head and brushed my nose against the smooth, tense line of his neck. "I'm not drunk. I'm perfectly awake." His grip tightened, enough to hurt a little. He took 2 deep breaths, then held the back of my neck and pulled me back just enough to look me straight in the eyes. He stared for a long time, as if trying to determine whether I was clear-headed or not. Then he spoke, voice deep and quiet. "Alex, you need to think this through. I'm not like Brandon. I'm possessive. If you provoke me, I won't let you look at anyone else ever again." His eyes were dark, so deep they were almost overflowing with emotion. "You still have a chance to take it back." Yeah, I saw this domineering attitude in the last life, so dramatic. I grinned, leaned forward, and planted a quick kiss on his cheek. Then I wrapped my arms around his neck. "No regrets. I like you so much, it's killing me. Whatever you want to do is fine by me." Pressed against him, I could hear his heartbeat slamming wildly in his chest. Liam shut his eyes tight. Then, like someone finally surrendering after holding back for too long, he leaned forward and kissed me. 22-year-old Liam had unbelievable stamina. Not that 32-year-old Liam was any different. He worked me over for 2 hours straight before I finally passed out in his arms. The next morning, I woke up to soft kisses tickling my cheek. Liam's lips brushed my face as he whispered against my skin, "Alex, say my name. Who am I?" Half asleep, I pushed him weakly to the side and burrowed into his chest. "Liam, stop. You went on forever. I'm exhausted. Let me sleep a little longer." He let out a short laugh. I blinked my eyes open blearily and saw a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. He kissed me once, then wrapped his arms around me and stroked my hair. "Sleep. We'll eat when you wake up." Warm sunlight filled the room. By the time I woke again, it was already noon. Liam had ordered a few light takeout dishes and set them on the dining table. When I stood up from bed, my legs were so sore I almost collapsed. I grabbed the wardrobe for balance and caught my reflection in its door. My body was covered in marks, especially my neck. Ch-ch. Same as the last life. Truly a beast. How was I supposed to go outside like this? I wobbled to the living room, walked straight up to Liam, grabbed his extremely firm butt, and complained, "You dog of a man, look what you did. How am I supposed to show my face to the world now?" Liam's response was to grab my waist, lift me, and sit me on the edge of the dining table, then kiss me again, deepening the marks even more. "It tickles. Stop, it's too ticklish." But right then, the door beeped, and Brandon walked in holding a bouquet of flowers. Liam instantly turned sideways, shielding me completely behind him. For a second, all 6 eyes locked. Oh, right. I had given Brandon the door code before, and never changed it. Liam's whole aura dropped, sharp, heavy, suffocating. Brandon froze at first. "You too?" Then he spotted the marks on my neck. His face flushed bright red. He roared, "What did you do?" I rubbed my forehead. Brandon hurled the bouquet to the ground with a violent crash. "Alex, even if you want to piss me off, you didn't have to go this far. Are you that shameless?" "If you don't know how to speak like a human, shut up and get out," Liam growled. The veins on his hands popped, and he looked a breath away from throwing punches. I quickly wrapped my arms around him from behind to calm him down. Then I looked at Brandon. "This isn't just any man. This is the person I love the most. I told you yesterday I'm pursuing him, and last I checked, we broke up. So what exactly are you doing here?" Brandon's face shifted between pale and red. "That was just something I said in anger. I never agreed to the breakup." I frowned. "I spelled it out clearly yesterday. No point clinging to something that's over. Liam is my boyfriend now. And not just my boyfriend. We're going to be on the same marriage license one day. We'll register abroad if we have to." Liam froze, turning toward me with a startled look. That tiny flicker of surprise was so rare I almost died from delight. I leaned over and planted a kiss on him immediately. Brandon's face turned even greener. "Alex, I'm still standing right here," I snapped, annoyed. "What are you yapping about? Are you blind? I'm flirting with Liam. Can't you see how in the way you are? Do you really not know when to leave?" As soon as I said it, I felt like the villain in a love triangle drama. Liam shot me a long, deep look, and where no one else could see, pinched my waist lightly. Then turned to Brandon and ordered in a low voice, "Get out." "Fine. Alex, Liam, the two of you are unbelievable." Brandon stormed out, slamming the door. The instant it clicked shut, Liam leaned in again, capturing my lips in another slow, consuming kiss. Graduation was approaching. My thesis was done. Everyone else was busy job hunting. As for me, my dear father was eagerly waiting for me to come home and help run the family business. Liam's family also owned their own company. He said he had something to take care of at home tonight, so he'd be heading back. Conveniently, Dad also told me to come home for dinner, something important to discuss. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at the marks all over my neck. How the hell was I supposed to hide these naturally and flawlessly? After a long sigh, I opened the delivery app and ordered foundation. At 7 p.m., I sat at the dining table eating dinner with my parents. They kept exchanging glances, looking like they wanted to speak but didn't know how. "What's with you two? Didn't you say there was something important to discuss?" Dad cleared his throat. "Well, it's like this. You've been in university for 4 years now and never brought home a partner. Yesterday, old Jung mentioned that his daughter is already over 20 and hasn't found a boyfriend either. So I thought maybe we could introduce you two. Who knows? Maybe you'd be a great match." Ah, that explained the awkward hemming and hawing. It wasn't the first time they tried to set me up, but I always rejected it sharply. Once so badly we had a huge fight. I bit my chopsticks. "Jiang family? Which Jiang family?" "Shengmao Group's Jiang family," Mom said, suddenly energetic. "They have one son and one daughter. We've arranged lunch for both families tomorrow. This time you must not refuse. The Jiang family is respectable like us. Don't make things unpleasant." Shengmao Group. "Oh, great. They wanted to set me up with my future sister-in-law. Hold on, I'm going to the bathroom first." I escaped into the bathroom, sat on the toilet lid and thought. Then I pulled out my phone and messaged the pinned chat. "My mom wants me to go on a blind date. Guess who it is?" Before Liam replied, I typed again. "Your sister." It looked strangely like an insult. "And she said both families are eating together tomorrow." The reply came instantly. "It's fine. Agree to it. I'll handle the rest." Oh ho, those are your words. I sat there for a while, took a few deep breaths, mentally prepared myself, then walked back out. Actually, it wasn't that I couldn't tell my parents the truth. I just didn't want to anger them right after being reborn. Every parent wants their child to have a happy marriage and a good family. Dropping the "no grandchildren ever" bomb too fast wouldn't be kind. Better to let them adjust slowly. "So, have you thought about it?" Dad asked. I nodded like a soldier walking to his doom. "Okay, I'll listen to you." The next morning, Mom picked out at least 20 outfits for me, holding each one against me, judging from every angle. It didn't feel like she was dressing me for a blind date. It felt like she was sending me to claim a throne. 3 hours later, after finally meeting her standards, we arrived at the hotel. I was nervous, genuinely nervous, like meeting the other partner's parents and praying they'd approve. Which, come to think of it, was also technically true. In my last life, when Liam and I got together, his parents had already moved overseas. So this version of reality, meeting his family, was completely new territory. I took a few deep breaths to steady myself and pretended to be calm. The moment we stepped inside the lobby, we ran into my supposed blind date. Liam's little sister, Lily. Oh, I knew her well. She was the absolute terror of the Jiang family, and her older brother Liam was probably the only person in the entire family who could manage her. "Hello, Uncle and Auntie," she greeted politely, then turned to me. "You must be Alex." She smiled sweetly, so sweet it made my teeth hurt. Because behind that harmless smile, I could hear the Lily from my past life. "You weakling, go get him, pin him down. If being forceful doesn't work, drug him. I've already given you so many strategies, why are you still failing?" A walking disaster. In my past life, every time she was mad at her brother, she would try to team up with me to stage a rebellion. We failed miserably every time. "Come inside," she said, giving me a knowing look. "My brother's just parking. He'll be up in a minute." That meaningful look nearly killed me on the spot. Meanwhile, my mom looked like she couldn't be more satisfied. She was this close to grabbing Lily's hands, crying and calling her daughter-in-law. I escaped by claiming I needed the restroom. I needed to calm down. As soon as I stepped in, a figure rushed in behind me, pulled me into a stall, locked the door, and pinned me against it. The familiar scent hit me instantly. Liam wrapped his arms around me like he wanted to pull me into his bones. I hugged him back, rising on my toes to kiss him deeply. It was strange. I was the one who lived an extra 10 years, yet the moment I saw him, every anxiety melted away. After a long, breathless kiss, we finally separated. I looked into those dark eyes and couldn't resist pecking the tip of his nose. "What's with you? Missed me that much after one night?" Liam's eyes were filled with emotions I couldn't name, as if he'd held them in too long, and they were overflowing. "Yes, if I go even 1 minute without you, I miss you." Even though I'd long gotten used to his direct honesty, hearing it still sent a rush through me. I wrapped my arms around his waist and rested my chin on his shoulder. "So what's the plan for later? Are we telling them everything right away? Honestly, I'm a little scared." "What's there to be scared of?" "I'm scared your mom will slap 50 million on the table and tell me to leave her precious son." A breathy laugh escaped him. He rubbed the back of my neck with one hand and patted my back with the other. "She won't. Relax. Leave everything to me." When we entered the private dining room, both sets of parents were already seated. In the middle were 2 seats left open, placed side by side. Liam and I walked in one after the other and sat down. Across from us, Lily shot me a mischievous wink. The beginning of the meal was extremely awkward. My mom kept trying to find topics to chat with Lily about, but somehow everything always circled back to Liam. For example, Mom said, "Lily, you're at University D, right? Such good grades. It's not far from Alex's University C, though he's graduating soon." Lily immediately replied, "Haha, no, my brother's the smart one. He went to the same school as Alex Gege, remember? He's handsome and top of his class." There were people lining up from the East Gate to the West Gate, trying to chase him. But he's stubborn, and only ever recognized one person. My chopsticks trembled. I almost dropped my food. Mr. and Mrs. Zhang glanced at me, as if trying to decide how to start the conversation. Meanwhile, Liam calmly kept putting food on my plate, and even picked out fish bones for me. "Uncle, Auntie," Lily continued brightly, "my brother is the best. He's loyal and super caring. Sometimes he's strict, but only with me. When it comes to the one he likes, he'll pluck stars from the sky if necessary. He's unbelievably gentle." My mom laughed awkwardly, totally lost. "Ha ha ha, is that so? Liam knows how to dote on people, huh?" She clearly had no idea why this girl kept talking about Liam. Then Mrs. Jiang took out an elegantly wrapped gift box from her crocodile leather purse. Alex is such a sweet child. Here, this is a present I picked out for you. I hope you like it. Liam accepted the box for me and passed it along. I thanked her in a hurry. As parents, Mrs. Jiang went on, we don't want much. We just want our children to be happy and get what they truly desire. As long as they're happy, we're happy too. She looked at me with genuine fondness. My mom nodded earnestly in agreement. Then, out of nowhere, Mrs. Jiang added, Shinlin, tell me, what do you think of our Liam? Mom answered instantly, without hesitation. Liam is outstanding, talented, promising, a wonderful young man. Alex would do well to learn from him. Mrs. Jiang followed up smoothly. And what do you think about Liam being with Alex? My fingers tightened reflexively under the table. Liam covered my hand with his, hidden beneath the tablecloth, gentle and steady. Mom replied without catching on at all. Together? Sure. If they're close friends, that's wonderful. I have no worries at all. She still didn't get it. I was just about to speak when Mrs. Jiang said, Shinlan, the truth is, originally we planned to let Lily and Alex meet, but today it's the main character who changed. Her eyes were shining with the joy and certainty of a mother about to gain a son-in-law. Liam is very fond of Alex. Yesterday he told me he won't want anyone else in his lifetime, and since the two children clearly feel the same way, I thought both families should meet. After all, we're going to be one family sooner or later. The children are grown now and have their own wishes, so as long as they're happy, none of us should have any objections, right? My father and mother were completely stunned, speechless for a long time. Then Liam stood up. He bowed deeply to my parents. I apologize for not informing you in advance. I am sincere toward Alex. I will treat him well for the rest of my life, and never let him suffer even a moment of grievance. If I ever fail him, may lightning strike me where I stand. Please, I hope you can give us your blessing. His voice was deep, steady, like making an oath. The private room fell into complete silence. Then my mom suddenly blurted out, I just remembered I also prepared a gift for Liam. I left it in the car. Alex, come with me to get it. Before anyone could react, she grabbed me and rushed out, leaving my poor dad alone to face the entire Jiang family, smiling so stiffly it hurt just to look. Mom dragged me all the way down to the parking garage. Her eyes were wide and unfocused, clearly trying to digest everything within the shortest time possible. After a long moment, she finally asked, voice steady but serious, Alex, are you truly serious about being with Liam? Even if the world won't acknowledge you? Even if society looks at you differently for it? I'm not against it. I'm just worried your future will be difficult. I squeezed her hand tightly and answered just as firmly, Mom, we don't need the world's approval. We only need yours. You and Dad are my family. I want your blessing. Is it him or no one? She pressed. It's him or no one, I said without hesitation. Mom stared at me for a full 30 seconds. Then she let out 2 long sighs. Fine. I'll just treat it as gaining another son. Other than not having grandchildren, it's not like there's anything bad about it. Go get the red leather case from the trunk. I dug through the overstuffed trunk and pulled out a very fancy, beautifully wrapped case. What is this? I've never seen it before. Mom snatched it back and rolled her eyes. It was your graduation gift, but it's not for you anymore. It's for Liam now. Come on, let's not keep people waiting. A warm softness spread through my chest as I followed her back upstairs. Before entering the private room, she suddenly stopped and whispered, Between you two, who's the top and who's the bottom? My neck stiffened. Obviously I'm the top. Mom nodded with pride. That's my son. The moment Mom and I walked back into the room, her expression toward Liam changed instantly. It was the exact same smile she showed to Lily earlier, the "this is my beautiful daughter-in-law" smile, except now she was aiming it at Liam. She handed him the gift and took her seat. Alex and Liam being together puts my heart at ease, Mom said warmly. As long as the two of them are happy, we have no objections. Mrs. Jiang lit up like fireworks exploding. Yes, Alex liking Liam is a blessing for our family. I've already bought a villa in Jingtang district for when they start working. They can move in any time. And later, I'll transfer 6% of our company's shares to Alex as a bride price. As for the wedding, they can decide. Overseas is fine too. Bride price? Mom's voice shot up several octaves. Mrs. Jiang blinked innocently. Yes, of course. Mom turned to glare at me, loudly forgetting to keep her voice down. Didn't you say you were the top?" I froze, mortified beyond words. It was one thing to say that in the hallway, but saying it in front of both families was an entirely different level of horror. Liam let out a quiet laugh. "That's correct. He likes being on top." The room went dead silent. Mom looked at me like she wanted to beat the stupidity out of me. 99 slashes of pure disappointment fired directly from her eyes. I slapped a hand over my face and, with the other, twisted Liam's thigh in righteous fury. I could have committed husband murder right there. Mom slammed the table so hard the plates shook. Dad trembled beside her. "No way. The Yee family will not lose. We'll put in 50 million, as Alex's dowry." The first half of the meal had been stiff and painfully awkward. The second half turned into utter chaos. Once the alcohol kicked in, both sets of parents suddenly became sworn brothers. Give them 2 sticks of incense, and they would have performed a blood oath ceremony on the spot. Then, no one knew who started it. They began exposing embarrassing childhood stories from both families. By the end, everyone was so drunk they could barely function. Lily clung to me like a koala, yelling, "Sister-in-law, red envelope!" Liam had to physically pry her off me. I rubbed my temples, staring at the table full of drunk adults, and eventually called our driver to transport everyone home one by one. After confirming my parents were safely in bed, I messaged Liam and returned to my small apartment. I lay on the sofa for a long moment, still in a daze, even though I had vaguely expected something like this. When the Zhang family openly laid everything out, I was still shocked. And then there was everything that came afterward. Like we were already promised to each other for life. For me, we'd already been lovers for 6 years in the last life, inseparable, carved into each other. But for him, we had only officially gotten together 2 days ago. Yet he went home, faced his parents, confessed everything, and even swore in front of mine, "If I ever fail him, may lightning strike me." As if he had been waiting for that moment for years. My thoughts scattered when the door suddenly opened and Liam walked in. He glanced at my bare feet. "Why aren't you wearing slippers?" I grinned and held out both arms toward him. "Forgot. Carry me to bed." He slipped an arm under my knees and lifted me steadily onto the bed. The moment he put me down, I suddenly tugged him with all my strength, pulling him down with me and straddling him. Hands pressed firmly on his shoulders. "They even brought up the wedding today. Bold of you. Now be good and call me husband." His hips rolled against mine wickedly. "Who's calling who?" I almost toppled off him and quickly steadied myself. "Look at you. Rebelling now?" Liam sat up without breaking the position, holding me flush against him. "I've been waiting for this day all along. I wanted both families' approval. I wanted to have you openly, proudly." His voice dropped, thick with emotion. "Alex, you chose me. So for the rest of your life, you belong only to me." His possessiveness wasn't ordinary, like a man dying of thirst, finally being handed water and refusing to ever let it go. And I took it sweetly, willingly. Thinking back to how he'd watched me chase Brandon before, never confessing, never exposing his true feelings, his self-control bordered on torture. I kissed his eyelids lightly, then leaned back to look directly into his dark, ocean-deep eyes. "A lifetime is 70 years. I, Alex, will love you forever, Liam. I will belong only to you. In the past life. In this life. In the next life, too." Heat rose in the air, blistering, overwhelming. I tilted my head slightly and captured his lips again, igniting the room in pure, intoxicating bliss. The days that followed were smooth and peaceful. We graduated successfully. Liam succeeded his family's corporation, Shengmao Group. I took over my father's company. Under my relentless opposition, my family finally abandoned the suicidal plan of investing in real estate and switched to technology research instead. We also rooted out several internal parasites, and our business soared. With the two of us working like oxen, both sets of parents retired early and started living their best lives. The two dads going fishing every other day and calling each other Brother Jiang and Brother Ye, and the moms linking arms every afternoon to do massages and manicures while cursing their useless husbands. As for Brandon, just like in the previous life, after graduation he disappeared without a trace, and I had no interest in knowing anything about him. That night, as always, I lay curled in Liam's arms. His hand absent-mindedly stroked my sweaty back. "Are you uncomfortable? Should I take you to shower?" he asked softly. I shook my head tiredly, voice hoarse. "Later. Let me rest a bit first." Then I slipped into a nightmare. The dream was chaotic, fragmented, all memories from the previous life. Things I had buried deep and never wanted to remember resurfaced without mercy. The overturned, crushed car, the panic of the shouting crowd, the searing, bone-deep pain, and Liam collapsing in despair. Suddenly I remembered how I was reborn. I died. I died in an unimaginably tragic car accident. I jerked upright, gasping violently, waking Liam from his sleep. Seeing the panic in my eyes, he pulled me into his arms. Bad dream? It's okay. Don't be scared. I'm here. My whole body trembled and tingled painfully. I took a deep breath, suppressing the terror, and buried myself in his chest. Liam, I dreamed I got into a car accident. It hurt so much. It still hurts. He froze for a moment. Then his arms tightened around me, so tight it was almost crushing, as if afraid I would disappear again. It's over. It's all over. It was just a dream. No one can hurt you now. Anyone who hurt you has paid the price. Something felt off. I pulled away suddenly. You knew. In the darkness, he stayed silent. I trembled as I touched his face. When did you remember? Why didn't you tell me? What happened after I died? He sighed and kissed my cheek, then hugged me again, but this time carefully, like I was fragile enough to break. After the Yi family collapsed, I investigated the mastermind. It was Brandon and several shareholders working together. I destroyed them all, made sure they would never recover, but they held a grudge. I didn't expect they would. He stopped, voice choking. I stroked his shoulder blade quietly. It wasn't your fault. You weren't the one who hurt me. He shook his head. No, it was my fault. I didn't protect you. I asked softly. And after? He answered in a voice that trembled at the edges. After you were gone, I think I went insane. I sat with your ashes for a whole week. Then I went after them one by one. I didn't want the law. I wanted them to die and be buried with you. In the end, I fell asleep in front of your tombstone. When I opened my eyes again, I was here. My heart shattered. He said it lightly, as if it were nothing, but beneath those simple words lay unimaginable, bottomless despair. If not for revenge, he probably would have died with me. There were 1,000 things I wanted to say, but none of them came out. All I could do was call his name over and over. Liam. Liam. Each time I called, he answered. Feeling him respond, really there, really alive. The terror faded, replaced by a flood of warmth that softened me to my core. I kissed his ear and made my vow again, for the second time, across 2 lives. A lifetime is 70 years. I, Alex, will love you forever, Liam. I will never leave you. I will always belong only to you.